Yes, we are live on YouTube now. So good afternoon, students. Good afternoon, everyone. I'll appreciate if all of you could be on mute. It's a wonderful, lovely afternoon, at least at Shulini, and I'm sure it's lovely and smiling and blossoming way back at home where you are. We're all missing you guys at the university, but I'm so glad that we can still talk to each other over the internet. Thanks to Zoom, thanks to Kamal, thanks to Poonam, and thanks to Kuldeep and other faculty members. So it's my honor, delight to be here today, and I'll be talking about networking. Now, why is networking so important? We'll be talking about that, but more importantly, like yesterday, I'll share some stories with you, stories of my lessons from networking. I'll also probably, if we have the time, show you a small video that has been my Bible from TEDx, which I normally every once and now go and have a look at. And hopefully you'll find this talk entertaining, exciting, lots of learning, but more importantly, I'd love if you could ask questions at the end. So the topic of networking, and when we think about networking, we think about social media nowadays. But as you'll see as I get into my presentation, I'm only going to talk out of the 5 points I'll share with you. Only one of them is going to be on social networking. The others are networking in general. Before I get into my whole presentation, and I have a small presentation for all of you, I'd like to bring out the difference between politics and networking. A lot of people believe that politics is the way to succeed in a company. And normally people associate networking with politics. And I would like to break the myth today. Like we said yesterday, politics will not take you far. However, networking will. But networking is very, very different from politics. Networking is about building relationships, helping people genuinely, buying their trust, getting to know each other, and then helping out each other when the time requires. And that's the topic for me today that my dear friend Poonam gave to me, which is how do we network? What's the best way to network? And what are the lessons that I have from my journey of networking? Can you guys see the screen? So over the next 30 minutes, I'm going to take you through my experiences of networking. 5 ideas, as I always give, 5 ideas of networking and learnings from 5 exceptional people that I worked with. I'll just quickly take you back to my journey as a professional again. I started my career with a consulting firm called McKinsey & Company, worked with some amazing people. I worked in 7 different countries, 35 different cities, different cultures. It was tough. But as I got to learn the art of networking, as I got to learn the art of working in different cultures, it suddenly became enjoyable. I've shared this today, Kuldeep, that when I first went to Germany to work, I was very, very stressed. I was working for a bank, and the bank CEO told my partner that we cannot have a non-white work on our team. Shit happened. I was very stressed. I didn't know what was going to happen. I thought I will be sent back. I was so stressed that I still remember, Kamal, that night I actually peed in the night. I'm not joking. I actually peed in the night in the bed. And that was a turning point for me because I went back and I spoke to my partner and said, I'm very stressed. And he said, Atul, don't worry, but you need to make these guys friends. They need to start trusting you. They need to start looking up to you. And once that happens, all this will be child's play. And that's exactly what happened. So as yesterday, I'm going to talk about 5 exceptional people who have given me my 5 rules of networking. The first is Ranjit Pandit. Ranjit, when I joined McKinsey, was a senior partner there. A charismatic guy, extremely handsome, as you'll see, gray hair, very well spoken, actually the grandson of Vijay Lakshmi Pandit. He taught me the big picture. But as we got to know each other, he started talking about his experiences at Wharton. So he had done his MBA from the Wharton School of Management. As all of you know, is in the US. It's the second best MBA after Harvard. And his learning was very simple. He said, Atul, whatever I've done in life is because of the help I get from my classmates. And the learning was very simple. When we think about networking normally, we think about people far and away. But don't forget, the first and the biggest and the strongest network that you're going to build are the people on this webinar today. Your MBA batch is going to be your most valuable network going forward. Each one of you in this webinar, each one of you who's doing an MBA at Shulini, I can almost assume and I can almost predict is going to be a CEO or a very senior manager in the next 15 to 20 years. So imagine a situation, you need help and you want some support. Whom do you go to? You go to your dearest friends first. And these people who are there today are going to help you out. So my first lesson to all of you friends is that your MBA batch is going to be your most valuable network. So start building your friendships today. Start sharing your thoughts with each other. Start building networks based on trust. Start understanding each other and start that effort today. Some people you like, some people you might not like. But I'm going to show you friends 20 years down the line, it won't matter. What would matter would be that you'll all be Shulinians. You'll all be MBAs from Shulini. To extend this thought, build your network beyond the MBA group. There are 4,000 more students at Shulini. Each one of them can be of use to you 20 years down the line or 10 years down the line. You want to shift jobs, you want some support, you want some help, they'll be there for you. I'll give another example. Imagine you're the CEO of a large company, which you will be, and you want some legal advice, but you don't know whom to go to because it's confidential and it's something you can't share with your lawyer. Probably there's a friend of yours who did law at Shulini, and that's the person that you reach out to at that point of time. So people who are going to build and help you and support you are going to be Shulinians first and the others later. Please make sure that all of you get to know each other. And that's one of the reasons why we put you in teams. That's one of the reasons why we put you in different teams all the time, so that you get to know each other, you get to learn to work in different teams, and you build this absolutely amazing network. So that was my first thought. The second person I worked with after McKinsey, whom I really admire from a networking perspective, is a guy called Tod Furniss. So after McKinsey, in 2002, I founded the businesses of Everest Group in India. So I was building the business, and Tod Furniss was the chief operating officer of the business. If you guys remember, I mentioned about a guy called Peter Bender-Samuel. So Tod was also a fellow partner, and he was also based out of Dallas, where I would spend a lot of time. So I remember a situation where a client of mine got fired. And you know, these are times when you share juice. You sort of feel happy about it when other people go through pain. That's, I think, human beings. So a client of mine had got fired, and Tod calls me and said, Atul, you should give Tom a call. And I was saying, God, you know, come on, Tod, why should I do that? First of all, this guy was an a-hole. I didn't really like him. He was so painful every time that I spoke to him. Secondly, I don't want to get into a distressful discussion. And Tod told me, he said, no. Whenever people are in distress, that is the time for you to pick up the phone and speak to them and help them. And if you can do that, if just one phone call, those people will remember. So my second learning for you guys is call people and help them when they need you the most. When do people need you the most? They need you the most when there's a bereavement in the family. Someone has died, for example. They've lost a job. There's some tragedy that has happened. They've fallen sick, or something disastrous has happened in their lives. That's the time you can pick up the phone and speak to even your enemy. And trust me, that person will remember you all the time and will give back. Now, there's another thing which a lot of my friends tell me. They said, we can't ask for any support. We can't ask for help. Todd also told me that the more you ask for help, the more you seek, the deeper your networks are going to become, the deeper your relations are going to become. It's awkward to ask, but trust me, every human being wants to help each other. If I go and ask Kamal for help, I can almost guarantee, even if Kamal doesn't like me, though I know Kamal loves me, Kamal, I hope you do, he will go out of the way and support me. He will help me. And that's the reason why you'll see so many people coming on a Guru series, so many people who are coming on our sprints. Why? Because they want to help us, they want to help you, because that's the emotional need of all human beings. So, like I said, second, learning. Call people when they need you the most and help them at that point of time. Okay? A third story is a guy called Tom Peters. Some of you might have read the book In Search of Excellence. Tom is again a McKinsey partner, or wasn't a McKinsey partner, when he came up with this amazing book called In Search of Excellence. This was a bestseller, continues to be a bestseller. Pick up the book, read it out, and you'll see how great a man Tom is. So I happened to have the opportunity of working with Tom when I was in New York working for McKinsey. And the thing which I remember most about Tom was a very interesting statement. And the statement was very, very simple. Never waste a lunch eating alone. And the point he was making was very simple. Lunch is your 40 minutes or 45 minutes or 1 hour of time that you can enhance your networking. You can go out and meet people that you're least comfortable with. Again, when it comes to lunch, what happens? We end up having lunch with friends, people that we already know, or we'll go to places where it's very, very comfortable. That's not the way to go. Especially when you start working, the worst thing you can do is sit in front of a computer and have lunch. And I see many of my faculty members do that. I see many of you do that. And you think you're adding a huge amount of value to the organization. The answer is no, because great work happens when people work together. And what could be a better place to getting to know each other than at the lunch table or at a dinner party? So please make sure you do that. I'll give a small example over here. Some of the members of my team go to the small VC pantry and eat over there. They eat the lunch over there. And I always go to them and say that, guys, why are you doing this? Why don't you go to the faculty club and eat your lunch over there? And they say, no, sir, sharam aati hai, or we are going to waste our time going over there. And I always go and tell them that it's not a waste of time, because when you go over there, you'll end up building those 50 different relationships across your faculty, across people that you don't know. So many of faculty members get lunch from home, as an example. I think it's a waste of time for them, because if they go to the faculty club and they meet those 50 colleagues of theirs, those are the guys that they'll build friendships with. Those are the guys who come and help them when they need that help. And those are the guys that they learn from. So learning number 3, never waste a lunch eating alone. Always find a partner, especially someone that you've never had lunch before. The fourth person I'll speak about is a very dear friend of mine, Gautam Kumra. Gautam and I started our career pretty much together at McKinsey and Company. And Gautam is a very big man today. He is the head of India for McKinsey. He runs a business which is over 2,000 crores. He's quoted in magazines, and you can actually go out and see what all he says. As I was working with Gautam, we started talking about what does a relationship mean? What does a good network mean? And normally we think about it as friendship. Normally, when you're working with people in the broader professional environment, you'll start thinking that it's all about friendship, it's about chit chat, and it's about, sharing jokes. And the answer is absolutely no. And that's what I learned from Gautam. Networking is not about just chit chat. Networking is not about jokes. It's not about just sharing stories, but it's about building very deep relationships. It's about building trust. A great networking person is able to build trust with the people he or she works with, or the people he or she spends time with. A classical example of here is Poonam. I think Poonam is an amazing networker amongst the students. All of you trust her. And I think that's the amazing part of networking. So if I need any support, I need any help from the student body, what I do is go to Poonam, because I know Poonam has that trust relationship with all of you. Because you trust her, you will do what she says. So as you think about networking, as you think about building the relationships, Do not think that it's about a frivolous bunch of interactions you'll have, or it's a Machiavellian bunch of relationships you'll have, but it's about that trustworthy relationship that when I need support from Gautam, I know he's there. I can pick up the phone and I know Gautam will pick up the phone if I ever call him. I'll give another example over here. I spent time in Switzerland. I was the primary consultant to Credit Suisse Asset Management, and one of my client members was a guy called Gerhard Lohmann. Gerhard was the chief financial officer of the business, a very, very big man. He probably ran a business which was, I think, $10 billion. So that's translated is around 70,000 crores. So think about working with the CFO of State Bank of India. So the number two guy in the bank. So I was very successful with Gerhard. I had a very tough time early on. Again, this guy refused to work with me because I had brown skin. But then I built that relationship with Gerhard and other members of his team, and he became a big fan of mine. To the extent that before I came back to India, I had built a $25 million consulting business with Credit Suisse. $25 million is approximately a little over 200 crores. In consulting, that's a very, very large relationship. My relationship was so deep that wherever I went within the bank, I would get work, and I didn't have enough people to deliver that work, which means I didn't have enough consultants. And that was the relationship I had with Gerhard Lohmann. And I was working for a small firm which I had founded, a company called A-Connect. I was not even working for a large company called McKinsey & Company in those days. So I remember over wine, I once asked Gerhard, I said, Gerhard, why me? Why A-Connect? And he looked at me and said, Atul, first of all, I know you're smart. I know you'll do work which is almost as good as McKinsey. But the most important thing is I really trust you. I know that when I give you work, you will never, never let me down. Also, whatever we discuss, you will keep it always confidential. So when I talk about trust, it's not about just I trust you. So if I trust Poonam, I know that when I give tasks to her, and if she agrees to that, that task is delivered on time at the right quality. That's what Kamal does every day when he brings in the Yogananda Guru series, or he brings in the whole e-university and manages it. Or Kuldeep, for example, when he drives the MBA program. So I trust him not because I just love his face, but because I know that he'll keep my discussions confidential, but more importantly, he'll deliver on what the ask is. And that's what trust is all about. The fifth thing is a little being immodest. I'm not sure whether I'm great or not in the league of the other four, but that's me. And I just put a picture of mine from an article that Hindustan Times had printed on me last year or a couple of years ago. And there was one learning which I have, which comes from my experience with social media. And I'm a big follower of social media. I'm very active on LinkedIn. So my learning to you guys is very simple. Start LinkedIn today. If you don't have a LinkedIn account, go and build that LinkedIn account today. So what do you write about? You need to write about your passion, whatever that is. But you need to consistently write about that every single day. For example, you might like photography. Start writing about photography every day. And you'll build a network of people who love photography. Now, this network ain't going to build next day. It's going to take years for you to build it. I now have more than 30,000 people on my network, which is the maximum I can have on LinkedIn. But it's taken me 10 years to build that network. And I consistently write about my passion. And my passion is to make people like you, students like you, world beaters. I every day write about it. I do not miss an opportunity passing a comment on this particular topic on LinkedIn. And I've got great followership to the extent that, Poonam, when I go into meetings nowadays, I walk the streets of Delhi. There's so many times I've got people come up to me and say, hey, are you Atul Khosla? I think know you. We are on the same network. It sometimes gets embarrassing because there is no way I can know those 30,000 people who are on my network. And of course, I have to ask them and say, okay, tell me more about yourself. And of course, they tell their name. Sometimes they don't tell the name. Then I have to figure out a way. I take out my phone and I very subtly ask them, can I have a telephone number, please? And they give the number and I ask them, how do you spell your name? Because I don't know who they are. So in that particular way, I actually get their name and I sort of have a chit chat. Then I go back to LinkedIn and I figure out who they were. So you also sometimes when you're doing social media, especially in the professional world, you'll think that You're over communicating, you're writing it again and again. I know Poonam feels that sometimes. She'll say, why should I keep on saying the same thing again and again? People will think I'm a fool. The point I wanted to make is there's nothing called over communication. If you want to build a great social network, and I'm talking about a professional network over here, you have to keep on writing about the same thing again and again and again. Of course, sensible things, not stupid things. The word of caution I like to make over here is all of you live in a world of social media, friends, students, teachers, everyone on this webinar. There are AI tools that are tracking you. Be very, very careful about what you put on social media. What I learned was that firms like HSBC scan your social media account for 10 years. So let's say you've written something on Insta and you've given some galis over there, or put some pictures that you're not very proud of, or you will not be proud of, let's say 10 years down the line. Well, fun is good, but you've crossed the line. Trust me, it'll be picked up because you can never delete anything that you've posted on social media. You want a visa from the US government and you've written something against, let's say, Trump, or you've written something which is communal in nature on Twitter, it'll be picked up. It'll be picked up and your visa will be denied. So there is social profiling happening. You run that risk, which people like me and Poonam and others didn't run at that point of time when we were growing up. I think Arvind is on this webinar, neither did Arvind. But you guys are both lucky and unlucky. Everything that you put on social media is recorded. So be very, very careful. Any form of social media, whether it's TikTok, whether it's Insta, whether it's Facebook, whether it's LinkedIn, you are being watched. So be very careful, but keep building a network. LinkedIn, like I said, is a great way to start. Start building your LinkedIn network. Start building your friends. The best way to invite people is not just to send an invite, but to write 3 lines about him or her. I'll give an example. If I have, let's say, 5, I normally get around 200 requests as friends on LinkedIn every day, but I'll probably accept 3 or 4 because I can't because I can't go beyond 30,000. I think I'm right now on 29,900 or something. So I probably got some 20, 30 odd places for people to enter my network. So if someone doesn't write those, 4 sentences of introduction, I will typically not invite them into my network unless they are a CEO of a large company or whatever. So you can build a network with big CEOs, with people that you'd like to be associated with, but you'll have to write those 4 lines, invite yourself into the network. And they won't be very useful at that point of time, but you never know. 2 years down the line, if you're chatting with them, you're sharing your views on their posts, they know who you are. And when you need that help, they'll be there for you. So I think that's really there for me from today. I'll just do a quick recap. Ranjit Pandit, one of the most charismatic partners at McKinsey I worked with, taught me that your MBA batch is the most valuable network. So build your friendships, guys. 180 of you on this call today are going to be the most valuable people for you in the next 15, 20 years. Tod Furniss, the charismatic partner I worked with at the Everest Group, taught me that we need to call people when they need us most. Never, never shy about doing this. I'll give a small example over here. Again, Dr. Dinesh Singh is just retiring from Delhi University. He's the ex-vice chancellor of Delhi University. He's a Padma Shri. He's been the chairman of NAC and a very, very big man. I called him up around a month back. I knew he was retiring and I offered him a professorship at Shillani and he accepted. I can tell you after 1 month, if I call him, he'll have so much work. He'll probably say, Atul, I would really love to be part of a network, but sorry, I'm already occupied. But I've already locked him in. And that's the beauty of calling people at a time when they need help and they really want to be part of a network. This was not done in a Machiavellian way. It was done in a great way. He's a great friend of mine. But again, if I have got 24 hours in my calendar or 12 hours of work, I can only put X much in there. If other people have locked it in, there's no way I can then help those people later. Tom Peters taught me about lunch. Never waste a lunch eating alone. I think is the simplest thing to follow. I'll request all my faculty members to follow this. Do not eat amongst yourself. There's no point having Kuldeep and Divesh eat lunch. Have lunch with Saurabh Kulshrestha, Kuldeep. And that's when you learn about what biotechnology is all about. Or have lunch with Nandan, or have lunch with the vice chancellor. Sit on his table. Gautam Kumra told me about networking. It's about deep relationships. It's about building trust. It's not about just sharing jokes. And from my experience, it's about starting LinkedIn today. It's about writing about your passion. And it's about making sure that you consistently write fearlessly, always remembering that there's nothing called over communication. Okay, lovely. So I'll pick up some questions over here. I'll just add to what she was saying. You know, we come up in situations, and Poonam knows this, when you're choosing your roommates, and you all want to, stay with your roommate from your town, from your village, from your school. I can only tell from my experience, Kuldeep, when I joined IIT Kanpur, where you could not change your roommate, I ended up having a Tamil Brahmin as my roommate, someone from Chennai, but also a Brahmin. I could not speak a word of English in those days. He could not speak Hindi. I could not speak Tamil, of course. So the only way we could converse is English. I learned how to speak English. Imagine what had happened if I had got my roommate as someone from Punjab or UP. I would have spoken Hindi with him or her. Not her. I don't think hers was allowed in my days. Probably it will be in a few years. I wouldn't have learned how to speak English. And that's what, there's so many other things to learn. My learning was, the first 6 months was very tough. We would fight about everything. This kid, Nagarajan, would get up at 5 in the morning and start his prayer with his ghanti. He would put ash on his forehead. I came from a Nastic family. My dad started his meditation and his spiritualism way later. In those days, he never would even go to a temple. I came from that sort of a family. We never went to a temple ever. We believed that Om was everywhere. We suddenly had fights with each other. I almost shifted to another guy called Rahul, but we never did. Naga is my dearest friend. I know we haven't met for 4 years, but if I need anything, Nagarajan is there for me. He became my closest friend. Our families became family friends. And I think that's the power of network. So I think putting yourself into uncomfortable situations is also very, very important, especially when you are a student. So then some questions over here, which I'm going to pick up, Kuldeep, if you allow me. So Nigam is saying, sir, how do you think networking going to play a vital role in manufacturing and services industries post-pandemic? Guys, don't think too much. I think the fact that you're thinking how your network will help you itself is the wrong way. What did I say? Like friends, networking should be done selflessly. Just do it because you have started enjoying making new friends. They'll come to your help and support at some point of time. Don't worry about how your network will help you post pandemic. Yes, your network can help you because in times of distress, you can pick up the phone and speak to your friend on a network. That's fine. But network, like I again said, is not your network on social media. Network is your friend from college. Network could be your friend from school or whoever. So don't build networks from a Machiavellian perspective, from a reason what you want to get from the network. Do it because it is the right thing to do, like it is to build friends. So Naveen is saying, so can you explain about network marketing? I think I'm not the best person to do network marketing. We have the guru of that, Kamal Khan, who's going to talk about network marketing. But it's all about saying that all of us are networks. And if you can enter those networks and sell things, that's network marketing. There are lots of companies that do that. Kamal's company does that. Possibly, Kamal, you can take 10 minutes of network marketing later in the day and talk about what network marketing is. But I think it goes with the philosophy that we all have networks, and if you can piggyback on those, then we can sell things. I think what I'm talking today is selling yourself, not selling goods. So just don't get me wrong on this one. Ayushi is asking how someone overcome when they encounter social threats in a foreign country, threats like racism. 99% of the people are good, Ayushi. I don't think you'll get threats from people. And if you're getting threats from people, just avoid those guys. But 99% of the time, there'll be people who'll be helping you out. I'll give a small example over here. Emma is a professor of Chinese and English who's here visiting Shulini, and she's Chinese and Taiwanese actually, and she's staying with us on campus. And I can tell you, all of us are taking care of her and her little girl Fifi. Poonam is there. She speaks to her every day, supports her, sends her food. We're like a family. So human beings love each other. So I do not believe that people are racist. They don't accept you always at work because you're different. But then it's up to you to be open, to smile, and they will accept you. So if you go to a new foreign country thinking that people are racist, then I think you're doing a negative, you're being negative on yourself. So Shashwat is saying, he's asking, sir, you faced a lot of racism and you're still able to connect to people. Is networking about letting your ego down? I think it's about just being yourself. It's not about ego or non-ego. Like I said, people were not being racist because they thought I was not capable. They behaved in a particular way because I was different. I don't think they looked down upon me or looked up upon me. It's just the way they're comfortable with people like themselves. So when Gerhard Lohmann tells me that you will not succeed in consulting in Switzerland, he's not saying that you're a bad consultant. He's basically saying that Swiss people are most comfortable with other Swiss people. How will they seek and take your advice? So I would say, give it time. If you're in that situation, life is all about putting yourself in uncomfortable situations. I'll give another example over here. You might have heard about the word desis. Indians, when they go outside, they call themselves desi, and they start just mingling within themselves. I saw that happen even in Zurich. So there was a technology company, Cognizant, that had a large Indian team working over there, and they just refused to talk to anyone else. They would just talk amongst themselves. They will go out. So one of the things which I started doing was I started doing a few parties. I would call my Swiss friends and I would call some of the Indian guys around. I can tell you guys, when I was in Switzerland or the US or Germany or the UK, I've never attended even a single desi party. I stopped eating Indian food, not because I didn't like Indian food, because I told myself Indian food I get every day. My mom cooks great Indian food. Anyway, the Indian food I'll get in a London restaurant will be quite shit. So why don't I try other cuisines? But if you don't experiment, how will you ever survive in a foreign country? And that's the mistake most people make. And food is the starting point of great networking, by the way. Food, if you can accept the other person's food, if you can enjoy the other person's food, that is the best way. Invite yourself to other people's homes. Everyone will say yes. Like I've invited myself to Poonam's house today. She's going to cook something lovely for us today. Let's see what it is. But that's the best way to build a relationship. Invite them back into your home and cook for them. So Pankaj is asking, so sometimes you get cheated by your friends and networks personally and professionally. Guys, no one wants to cheat you. Trust the world. You're too young to be so cynical, Pankaj, right? Start giving the benefit of doubt to people. Forget it. If someone has cheated you, think just give that person a benefit of doubt and move on in life, right? This is not the age to be cynical. And that's what I get frustrated about. So many young kids, they'll talk like this. Oh, we get cheated. What cheating, man? What have they cheated you? What तुम्हारे पास है ही क्या जो तुमको cheat कर लेंगे? पहले लाइफ बनाओ, उसके बाद अपने को लायक बनाओ जिससे कोई आपको चीट करके फायदा तो हो उसको कुछ करोड़ 2 करोड़ 5 करोड़ तो बनाए आपको चीट करके. So people don't cheat. I think the situation is such that two minds don't meet each other. So give them a benefit of doubt. That's what I've learned, and that's the way I live my life. Can introvert nature affect networking? Not really. I mean, it's an hindrance, but everyone doesn't have to have 50,000 people on the networks. And then the beauty of social media is that even as a introvert, you can put Like no one is asking questions, Kuldeep. They are all putting in the chat bot, right? It's so easy. So you can build a networks in the social media, I would say, if you're an introvert, but push yourself again into social situations. Ayush is asking another question: how to become more social when majority of your life you were antisocial or an introvert? Stop thinking that way, Ayushi. Start with your best friend. Start with the neighbor in your next to your colony. Go and say hello. Why don't you start that today? Why don't you bake a cake or cook a small nice meal for a neighbor and take it to him or her and say, look, I cooked this for you. Start that way and you'll see that people will love it. So you don't have to be antisocial, I would say. Avinash is asking how someone with introvert personality will create the network. Again, guys, no one is introvert. It's where you get your energy from when you say you're introvert. So, like we heard in the TEDx talk, push yourself into slightly uncomfortable situations. Great networks are not from, I think it's a wrong thinking that people who are extroverts will build great relationships. Introverts could have great relationships, right? It's all about the trust that you can pass. Are you trustworthy? What did we hear? Your relationship is not a transaction. Don't think about like this guy was, I forgot his name, was asking, how will my networking help me in the pandemic? That's transaction. Just build a network because you can help that person and he or she will help you at some point of time. Don't do it because of that help or support you need. Do it because you love networking, because you love to understand different people. So Labham is asking what influenced your career in networking. I mean, all the jobs I ever got, I switched was also always because the people I knew, the people I picked up the phone and said, hey, do you have an opening or I'm looking out? And they helped me because people who know you will either respect you or they wouldn't respect you. And that's your best chance to get the best job. So networking helps that way. Uh, like again said, it's not Machiavellian. You just keep on building your friends. What are you spending most of your time on right now? Right now, I'm doing a lot of webinars, right? That's what Shubham is asking me. So I think it's sort of a networking, talking to people. This is networking if you think about it, talking to all of you. I do 3 webinars every day. I do one on the Yogananda Guru series, and then people reach back to me on WhatsApp. That's networking. I do a webinar called Ideas That Matter. This is teaching, reaching out to school principals and teachers. Every day we speak to more than 2,000 teachers. I've over the last 2 months since Corona started, touched 45 different schools, and we were counting. We have touched 20,000 different teachers. What an amazing network we've built. Some of them will remember me, some of them won't. That's the way I'm spending my time. So implicitly, I would say uh, on networks. I've got 5 minutes more, so I'll just take a couple of questions more over here. So Harsh is asking, I agree with the point of talking to people we interact less with. I wanted an advice to deal with the arguments we lead to when our ideas don't match. Guys, don't have arguments. Arguments are also not that bad, but don't take them to heart, I would say. Make sure that they're professional arguments. Make sure that once the arguments are over, you come back and you hug each other. So I think that's the way I would take it. So I'm tired, Poonam, and I have to leave. I have another webinar to take, Ideas That Matter. I will take one last question on Nigam Mahopatra. Sorry, sir, but you got my question wrong. Okay, sorry, Nigam. I was asking how networking going to help GOI post. What is GOI? Government of India? Post-pandemic with the manufacturing and services sector. What is GOI? Can anyone help me, Kuldeep? If you're there.
Government of India.
How will networking going to help Government of India post-pandemic? I don't know your question, Nigam, but if you think about it, our dear Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, is doing networking all the time. He's building networks with the US, with the Americans, with Donald Trump. And I think it will help us because, there is going to be a movement from China into India. So the manufacturing people from China will start moving into India. And if the government of India has built good relationships with multinational corporations, then they'll put those companies in India. Individuals who have those relationships will gain. So yes, there will be an advantage of your networks. For example, I got a call from the global CEO of UBS yesterday. Now, this guy is a very big man. Like I said, it's like the CEO of State Bank of India calling you. And he said, Atul, are you interested to build a global university? Now, why did Sergio do that? He did that because of the relationship that we have. I've known him for a long time, and I've built and retained and maintained that relationship. So I think there's one last thing I'll say over here is you will all keep building a relationship, but many of us don't retain that relationship. We don't give back to that relationship. So start talking to them, start sending emails to them. I don't know whether you guys have seen me, but sometimes, which I used to, and I haven't done that actually last year, is that I send personal greeting cards to all my friends every Diwali or every New Year. I invest the time on writing it out, not just sending an email or writing a printed card. So you'll have to invest into your relationships, keep telling them where you are, what is happening with you, sharing emails, sharing chats on LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever, and you'll see that those relationships keep developing. So yes, in times of stress, people will reach out to each other, and that's how networks work. If I'm able to get people as speakers on Yogananda Guru series, that's because of the network I have. And they love to, and the beauty is that they love to come and they love to talk. It only strengthens my network with them, my relationship with them. So Ayushi says to strengthen diplomatic ties, networking plays a role. I think let's worry about our relationships, Ayushi and Nigam. Let's not worry about diplomats and government of India. I'm sure they know what to do. I think let's worry about ourselves today. We all need those networks. We need people that we can trust. We need relationships who are going to help us over time. So the topic today was to help each other out. And if there's one message I'd like to give to all of you, which was my number one lesson, which is this batch amongst you, the 180 people in this room today, are going to be your best friends, are going to be your strongest network. So hopefully your teachers will help you build those networks. And you heard the teacher, also, the TEDx speaker also say that build your networks in university. There's so many diverse people around. Go beyond the MBA class, go to the first year class of biotechnology or the PhD students, build a network top down, left, right, horizontally, vertically, and then nothing can stop you to succeed. Do it with fun, do it with passion, do it with trust. Do not do it with a Machiavellian or a negative way or a sinister way. Don't do it for a purpose. Don't do it as a transaction. Do it as a genuine effort. And you'll see that you'll start enjoying the people you know, and they will come to tremendous help to you as and when you need them. I think with that, I need to run. Thank you very much. Thank you, Poonam. Thank you, Kuldeep. Thank you, Kamal. Thank you, students, more importantly. You know, you've been a very, very patient and a lovely audience. I've really, really enjoyed talking to you twice. And if you need me again, I'll be delighted to come and speak to you. Thank you, Poonam, once again.
Thank you. Thank you so much.